After King Hezekiah died, both his son, Manasseh, and his grandson, Amon, proved to be flops. King Josiah took over the reins of power from his dad King Amon, who had taken all but 2 years to mess things up with God. King Josiah's reign lasted for about 31 years and started when he was just 8 years old. In his 18th year as king, he was in the process of repairing the temple of God and making payments to the laborers for the finished work. Shaphan, his secretary, was sent to the priests in the temple to do this. While Shaphan was at the temple, the high priest, Hilkiah, told him that he had found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. This is in reference to the law of Moses. Shaphan then returned to King Josiah with this additional information from the temple. He read the book to the king, and once Josiah heard the words, he knew that he was in trouble. Josiah then said the following to his servant, secretary, and the priests. Go, inquire of the Lord for me, and for the people, and for all Judah, concerning the words of this book that has been found, for great is the wrath of the Lord that is kindled against us, because our fathers have not obeyed the words of this book, to do according to all that is written concerning us. 2 Kings 22 verse 13. So they went to see a prophetess named Huldah, as Josiah had commanded. This was her answer. 2 Kings 22 verses 15 to 18. And she said to them, Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, tell the man who sent you to me, Thus says the Lord, Behold, I will bring evil upon this place and upon its inhabitants, all the words of the book which the king of Judah has read. Because they have forsaken me, and have burned incense to other gods, that they might provoke me to anger with all the work of their hands, therefore my wrath will be kindled against this place, and it will not be quenched. She then went on to say that because King Josiah had been penitent and humble towards God, he would be spared from this judgment. Just like his great-granddad, King Hezekiah, he would be lucky, as these events would happen after he had already met his grave. However, once he knew that he was going to be spared, King Josiah wasn't as indifferent about the nation's affairs as King Hezekiah had been. 2 Kings 23 verses 2 to 3. And the king went up to the house of the Lord, and with him all the men of Judah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and the priests and prophets, and all the people, both small and great, and he read in their hearing all the words of the book of the covenant which had been found in the house of the Lord. And the king stood by the pillar and made a covenant before the Lord, to walk after the Lord, and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes, with all his heart and all his soul, to perform the words of his covenant that were written in this book, and all the people joined in the covenant. This also shows us how important it is to pick your leaders, as their actions or inaction can be the difference of being spared or damned in your lifetime, since you might also benefit or suffer from the results of their decisions. After making this proclamation before the people, Josiah and the priests then went about destroying any evidence of idol worship, even digging up the bones of their priests and burning them. Wow, now that's damnation without relief. Now, if King Hezekiah's style of ruling was to bring back the good from the days of his forefathers, his son decided to get rid of the bad from the same. From King Solomon's Mount of Corruption to the altars built by his great-granddad, he got rid of all the high places to other gods. 2 Kings 23 verse 24. Moreover, Josiah put away the mediums and the wizards and the teraphim and the idols and all the abominations that were seen in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem, that he might establish the words of the law which were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord. Now hold up. He wasn't all about negative marking, though. He could be just as spectacular in lightening the mood, as when the time came to celebrate the Passover. 2 Kings 23 verses 21 to 22. And the king commanded all the people, Keep the Passover to the Lord your God, as it is written in this book of the covenant. For no such Passover had been kept since the days of the judges who judged Israel, or during all the days of the kings of Israel or of the kings of Judah, but in the 18th year of King Josiah this Passover was kept to the Lord in Jerusalem. 2 Chronicles 35 verses 16 to 19. So all the service of the Lord was prepared that day, to keep the Passover and to offer burnt offerings on the altar of the Lord, according to the command of King Josiah. And the people of Israel who were present kept the Passover at that time, and the feast of unleavened bread 7 days. No Passover like it had been kept in Israel since the days of Samuel the prophet. None of the kings of Israel had kept such a Passover as was kept by Josiah, and the priests and the Levites, and all Judah and Israel who were present, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. In the 18th year of the reign of Josiah this Passover was kept. As you can see, he had a balanced approach. That rarest kind of ruler. Unfortunately, he was still human and made a mistake in judgment that cost him his life. This happened when a pharaoh called Necho was going to war with the Assyrians at the famous Euphrates River. In this strange instance, King Josiah comes across as meddling and provocative. When Josiah went to meet the pharaoh, the Egyptian tried to avoid conflict. "What have we to do with each other, King of Judah? I am not coming against you this day, but against the house with which I am at war, and God has commanded me to make haste. See, supposing God, who is with me, lest he destroy you." 2 Chronicles 35 verse 21. Josiah, though, was in a fighting mood and insisted on going on to battle. He disguised himself and entered the fray in Megiddo to his demise. He was wounded and taken back to Jerusalem, where he succumbed to the injury. His heir, King Jehoahaz, would also become the flop that his granddad King Amon was. He lasted just 3 months on the throne before the pharaoh came and escorted him out of royalty and back to Egypt, probably becoming the first person from the house of David to live without the trappings of power, as the young David did all those years ago as a shepherd. In closing, let's lean on this Bible verse about Josiah that says everything about his greatness. 2 Kings 23 verse 25. Before him there was no king like him, who turned to the Lord with all his heart and with all his soul and with all his might, according to all the law of Moses, nor did any like him arise after him.